Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal, and I am your host, Sean Ellis. Tonight, we have a great guest. I actually got to meet him up at Broadhead Manor, and we got to talking about a few things, and it was a very interesting conversation, and we're going to have him on the show here tonight, Mr. Ed Levin. And in the background, we got Miss Gwen Johns running some comments for us as well. So let's bring on Ed from Spire Paranormal.
Hey, Sean.
How you doing, Ed?
I'm doing all right. A little bit tired and whatnot from a long weekend, but I'm here.
I think we're all feeling a little under the weather. I've been fighting a sinus infection since Thursday night, and I'm running about 75% today.
Yeah.
But yeah, doesn't seem like it was that long ago. We actually were talking at Broadhead Manor. It seems like time flies.
Oh yeah. We've been so busy lately between our big Halloween event down in Watsika and Illinois and then this past weekend, like I said, we were busy out at in Rosemont at the big horror con there, the Days of the Dead.
I forgot about that. That was in Rosemont, Illinois, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And we opened up the show with our panel discussion on haunted house calls.
Oh wow! I wish I'd have remembered that. I might have made a trip up, but since I wasn't feeling that hot,
yeah.
But yeah, Rosemont ain't that far from me. I could have come up there this weekend.
Oh yeah, wow. There she's.
But yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Ed?
Yeah. So I've been working in the paranormal for just a little over, probably about 12 years now. I've always been around the paranormal. I grew up in Mishawaka, Indiana, in an old house, old farmhouse. And I remember waking up in the morning and hearing voices and seeing shadows and stuff around the house. And then about 20 years from that, my wife and I got our first house as a married couple, and we lived in a 125-year-old vacation bungalow in Hanover Park, or what was a vacation bungalow. And it turned out we had a couple of ghosts rooming with us there. And shortly after that, my wife and I got involved with another team, 3 a.m. Extreme Paranormal. Of course, we had little ones, so only one of us would be able to go out and investigate at a time. So she actually started investigating with them. And then about just a little under 3 years ago, I decided to branch out and start my own team, Spire Paranormal, or actually the Society for Paranormal Investigation, Research, and Evidence. Really kind of wanting to build the team to be sort of a society type thing, kind of like TAPS, where we've got our main team, but then we've also got access to external investigators, like independents or people who have small teams that when they want to go out and investigate places, but they don't have enough people to fill a location, they can contact us and be like, hey, I want to do this. Can you come out with us and help us out and that type of stuff. So, and we've been very busy the last couple of years. We've investigated Broadhead a bunch. Of course, that's our paranormal home. But we've been all over the place. We've been in Berlin, Wisconsin. We've been out in all the way down in Watsika, Illinois, DeKalb, Illinois. Out in Fremont, Illinois, or Freeport, Illinois. In a bunch of other places in Wisconsin as well. So we've been branching out, trying new places. Of course, we've been doing our paranormal house calls when we get invited out to folks' homes because they've got weird stuff going on because they don't know if they're haunted or what. So we go out and help those folks out and just keeping busy, doing the good fight.
So where exactly are you located at?
I'm in Lake County, Illinois. I'm in a town called Round Lake Beach. It's about 15 minutes from Six Flags.
Okay.
And then we've got members that are in Fox Lake. We've got members that are in Kenosha. We've got members that are in Lake Villa. We've got members that our medium Chrissy Cloak actually lives up near Janesville.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm actually in Galesburg, Illinois, so that's where I'm at. So I'm about 3 hours from you. Well, yeah, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours from you guys.
Yeah, and we're about an hour 40 from where I'm about an hour 40 from Broadhead.
Yeah, I'm about 2 hours and 15 minutes from Broadhead, depending on how the GPS takes me. That's the strangest place. Every time I go to Broadhead and I put GPS on, I never ever go the same way twice. And I'm not the only one that says this. Haunted Happy Hours told me the same thing, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't use the GPS anymore because the GPS always takes me a different route, and I'm just like, you know what? Hey, Jenny, I'm just like, you know what? I know how to get there, so we'll just go ahead and go the way I know, and you know. But actually, the interesting thing is the first time that I was at Broadhead, it was when I was still with 3 a.m. Extreme, and we actually got routed around because there was a bridge out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you had that happen to
Yep.
So that was a kind of an interesting trip in itself, because we're driving along, all of a sudden we're like seeing all these signs because the GPS was taking us towards the bridge that was out.
Right.
And all of a sudden we start seeing all these signs saying bridge is out, and we're like, okay.
Yeah. And then you start backtracking, going through the country and around this way and then around that way. And it's like a twisted mess. And then you'd end up in a town. It's like, wait a minute, we're not even close. What the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
It's like, it's really strange. But like I said, every time I go to Broadhead, it's never, ever the same way twice.
Right.
And I've joked with Bill about that before, and got to talking to Haunted Happy Hour about it last week. And when they were on the show, and they said the same thing. Every time they go, it's something different every time. So
yeah, it's like, you know, I almost wonder if the ghosts aren't messing with me before I even get there.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, my first experience at Broadhead, as soon as I got to Broadhead and opened up my car door and stepped my foot on the ground, I could definitely tell there was an elemental there because all the energy that was there right off the bat. So, and it's like, okay, wait a second, I got to make an adjustment here because I normally don't deal a lot with them, but I know what they are and I've seen them a few times. Yeah. And, but yeah. So one thing we do have in common is Broadhead. You said you've investigated there a lot. What's your point of view on Broadhead? Because I really like that place and the stuff that goes on there.
So Broadhead is, you know, of course, Broadhead is that big old school, and it's sitting on a bed of limestone. And as we all know, limestone is
a conductor.
There's some natural ley lines. Of course, you've got the iron tracks of the railroad running right alongside it. There's you know, the source of water nearby. There's all these things that are coming together to make this perfect paranormal storm. Plus, you know, the cemetery is only 3-4 blocks away,
right?
Thing. And you've got the limestone from the original school underneath Broadhead Manor. And I believe that there's a portal underneath it. And I believe that because it's got the portal, because it's, you know, kind of the center of town, and, you know, and a lot of people went through there, and that was kind of their happy place and whatnot. It's just this perfect storm of things that attract, you know, the spirits to come in there. And we've actually been investigating Broadhead. We did a public investigation there a few years ago, and we had a young lady with us whose stepfather had passed away. Her stepfather came through during our investigation that night. And that happens all the time there. Bill's told me that his father comes through every once in a while. And I believe because it's got the portal in the basement and whatnot, it kind of gives spirits the ability to drop in and say hello to their loved ones when they're there.
Oh, I'd say most definitely. I remember the very first time when like I said, when I got there, just feeling the energy when I stepped out of the car. But when me and my teammate was there, was the first night that Eternal Paranormal had their open house there that night, and I went up there for that. And Bill was showing us around, and we were following the group because he was showing us where not to go and where to go right when they got it going there. And we were down there by the boiler room area.
Mm.
And I could have swore I seen Bill walk up the steps and go to the right. And the dog followed him. And the dog followed him. So I was like, why is everybody just standing here? You know? So I walked up the steps. I took a right. The dog's sitting there at my feet, and all those doors are locked right there. You can't get in them.
Yeah, it's the mimic.
Yeah, he said it was the janitor. He thought maybe it was the janitor I seen.
Oh, maybe. It might have been.
Yeah, but he said he was downstairs in the boiler room waiting for everybody else to come down there. And I could have swore it was him going up the stairs and going to the right. And I followed him right up there.
Yeah, our team loves to do research. My medium is actually our head historian, which kind of sucks because she doesn't want to know anything about a property before we get there.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't actually start doing the historic research until after she's already been there. So we've got to kind of adjust that a little bit so that we have we have somebody who can research the history before we get into a location. But we actually did a lot of research after. Hey Nick, we actually did a lot of research at Broadhead, and we're actually the team that figured out who the janitor was. John, his name's John Neuschwinder. We figured out who the two principals are, Mr. Eck and Carl Feister is the other one. I've actually been to Carl Feister's grave. He's in the cemetery.
Oh wow!
Right there in town.
Yeah.
So I've actually been to his grave and his wife's. And we also figured out who the one secretary is there. She goes by Sally, but her name is actually something a little bit different. It sounds like it's Sally, but it's spelled differently. Mm-hmm. Somebody else figured out who Mr. Scott was because they were a student that had been there. They actually went to school there, and Mr. Scott came through and said, "Hey, I'm Mr. Scott." Mm-hmm. I'm also the one who named the two elementals Groot and Smolder because for whatever reason I'm not a medium, I'm not psychic, I'm not whatever, but for whatever reason, whenever I'm around those type of folks, somehow I kind of, especially when I'm using the dowsing rods, I kind of glitch into what they're seeing, and I kind of get images in my head. Mm-hmm. And I got the image of Groot as this big, tree troll looking guy, and of course Smolder is all, fire and ember and glowing red eyes type thing. So yeah, I'm actually the one that named the two elementals.
That's kind of interesting that you said that, because I remember when I was up there, like I said, the first time I got out, I could feel that there was an elemental there to begin with. And then we got up there, and I think it was the third floor. Mm. And you look up in the rafter, and there's like a handprint or something up in the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about it being a fire element. So yeah, I can definitely understand that.
Well, the handprints in you're talking about in the old kindergarten room and math. It was originally the kindergarten room, I guess, when it was K through 12, and then it became the math room up there with the exposed rafters.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing up there are actually like child handprints. That's actually the end of the building that Groot hangs out at. Smolder hangs out at the other end of the building where the library is.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we're there all the time, and my team's actually had the opportunity to investigate some of the rooms that a lot of people don't get into. We've been in the library, we've been in the crawl space underneath the building, and stuff like that. And And we actually are the first team to ever investigate the building without Bill being there, because Bill was out of town dealing with his his mom when she was sick before she passed away. And since I've gone up there and given the tour for him a bunch of times, and I've actually watched the building for him when he was out of town, he actually let me bring the team in there and investigate without him being there. And that was a different thing too, was investigating the building without him being up there. The energy was a little bit different. I mean, we still got interaction with the ghosts once we explained to him why we were there, and it was okay with Bill. And of course, the kids all know me, and they ask for me. I'll be down in the gym, and there'll be groups up on the third floor or in the second floor or whatever, and they'll be like, "Get Ed, where's Ed? Find Ed," type thing. So I've got a great relationship with that building.
Yeah, I mean, I like going up there. Me and one of my teammates that were there, we actually got some EVPs with the kids' names and matched them with Bill, and he said we were right on with them. Yeah, and we caught him down there in the janitor's closet. Yeah, and then we caught some upstairs a little bit throughout the night. But that place is definitely interesting, and it's big, it's huge.
Right.
I think the one night we also did a big get together up in one of the rooms, and it got some of the. I think it was either the principal or the teacher from up in one of the rooms over at the Ovulus that night.
Yeah.
But that place is interesting. And I know me and Bill did an actual experiment one time where he made me a PVC door. I don't know if you remember seeing that the night we were up there.
No.
It's made out of PVC, and we put the fog machine to it. And he was spurting little bits of fog into the PVC, and it would mist into the doorway. So it would kind of fill that area, because we were curious to see if we could actually see shadows coming through the fog.
Okay.
So he had it all drilled out, and we stuck it in the girls' locker room over there, and we were experimenting with it one night. And we actually seen some images come out through that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he's actually shown me videos that was captured by a husband and wife team. And I guess the wife was a teacher. And there was it was like one of those summer days where it was like right after a lot of rainstorms. So there was kind of a fog hanging in the air in the third floor. Because as you know, there's no HVAC in the building.
Right.
So there was kind of a fog hanging in the air on the third floor. And the wife was playing sounds from of students passing in the hallways over a speaker, and they actually saw shadows moving back and forth across the hallway.
Right.
And they were able to capture that on camera.
Hello, Raven.
Hey, Raven.
Thanks for stopping in.
So, but yeah, I love that place. Like I said, it's our paranormal home. I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to do there this year. I've got to talk to Bill about. I'll be talking to him about it in the next couple of weeks when I see him. And of course, there's a bunch of other places where we've been talking about getting into and going back to this coming year.
Yeah, I definitely like it up there. Bill's a great guy. I mean, he does a hell of a show. Or when they do shows up there and everything. So I mean, he goes all out for us, got all of us, and I appreciate everything he does for everybody up there as well.
Yeah. Plus, it's always cool to go up there and see what Ron's been working on with all the mannequins and the horror props and stuff.
I heard he's got a hell of a Jason one up there now.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out for sure. What is some of the other locations you've actually been to?
So we've been to the Jericho property, which is they call it the Trinity, which is it's a Catholic church, a convent, and a school. That's up in Jericho, Wisconsin, not too far off from Oshkosh. That one is, I mean, we barely scratched the surface in that location it's you've got 3 buildings to investigate there. The interesting thing about the church is you go into that church and they've got the balcony where the choir is supposed to go and sing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go up to that choir and you've got somebody who can sing, and you sing like Amazing Grace or something like that, it changes the whole energy of the building.
Oh.
Yeah, it changes the whole energy. Then there's all kinds of stuff going on in there. I guess sometime after we were there, some Larry and Neil, Larry from Ashes to Echoes, and Neil from Graveside Paranormal were up there, and I guess they said that it seems like something dark has kind of moved into the building because they removed the artifact from the altar down there. But and then of course you go up to the convent, and you've got the nun spirits coming through talking to you. In the school, we've talked to a ghost in there, a spirit in there that said that he was a homeless guy that died in the area, and so he thought it was a great place to be. There's a maintenance guy there. There's a guy in the basement that we're not sure if it's the maintenance guy or somebody else, but that's kind of creepy and kind of creeped out the ladies in the group. So we've been there. There's a lot of activity there. We've been to the Freeport Freemason Lodge and worked with the spirits there. We actually got to speak to the spirit of one of the Freemasons that the people that run the paranormal tours and stuff actually know, because he passed away recently, and he's come back to the building. They've got a lady there they call the matron. She's one of the sisters of the Eastern Star, which of course is the female counterparts to the Freemasons.
Right.
We've also investigated. We're the only team to have ever investigated the Antioch Freemason Lodge, and that was kind of interesting too, because when we came in there, and of course we have our medium Chrissy with us. She thought it was kind of funny because we're in there and all these guys are like, wait, they know we're here. They're here to talk to us. So we talked to some of the gentlemen that were up in the temple. Of course, we can't show any of that footage on our YouTube or anything like that, but because they're very secretive about what goes on in their temple and the type of stuff.
Well, it's still an active temple then.
Yeah, it's an active temple, and so is the Freeport one too. But what was interesting is we were expecting to get the men there. We were not expecting to get all the ladies that were down in the social room, the party room. There was actually a bunch of ladies down there. One of which was, and I can't remember her name right now, but she was getting kind of sassy with me. She said I was being bossy.
Huh.
And she basically because we had Chrissy there and we had Charlene there, and she's like, she goes, why don't you go up? Basically, she said, it came through on the spirit box too. We were using what I call my Elliot box, which was built by Elliot from Always Chasing Ghosts Paranormal, ACG Paranormal, and it's an old 1940s radio that I had converted into a spirit box. And she was coming through on that, and she's like, why don't you go upstairs and talk to the men and let us girls talk? So that was a lot of fun. That location was a lot of fun.
Let me ask you something. Between a regular residential or a location in a Mason building, because I've actually got to go to the one in Keysburg, the Mason Lodge in Keysburg. What do you think of the energy in it? Compared to a residential or just a regular location?
Well, anytime you go into a location where people congregate, whether it's a church or a Freemason lodge or a ballroom or even a school, anytime you go into a location where people congregate, that location has a lot of energy, whether it's residual or, it's the spirits that are behind, but it carries a certain, energy. I mean, you go to an asylum or a prison, there's a lot of negative energy
Oh,
there.
yeah.
But you go into a place where people go in to, have their special clubs, or, to socialize, or to party, or to learn, or whatever. There's this positive energy to the place. And I mean, you go into people's homes, and it's a different type of energy. It's that homey energy. It's, if it was a loving home, you get that warm, loving,
Right.
energy. You go into a home where, maybe there was an abusive person that lived there, or whatever. But the thing is that the energy also changes with, I feel the energy also changes with whoever is currently living there, especially if they have the ability to, or the wherewithal to go in and kind of clean the energy from whoever was there before out, so they could bring in their own energy.
Right.
But you still get that, you do still get some residual energy left. But it's not like when you go into, a public place, like I said, like a dance hall, or a Freemason lodge, or a school, or a church, or whatnot.
Yeah, I just noticed. To me, I noticed the difference. I mean, I've been into churches and I've been into some older jails, but not big jails. But I understand what you're talking about with the different feeling in there as well. Because I mean, I'm kind of an empath when it comes to that, because I'll feel things when I come in the door.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that energy is just totally a different type of energy altogether when in the lodges and stuff like that. Because I mean, I just thought it was really interesting if you've ever noticed the difference yourself compared to like a church or just a residence, because it's a different atmosphere.
It is, and I mean, you like the Freemason Lodge. The Freemasons are in there. They're in there to, they do what they call they do work, basically. They study. They go through all their different degrees of Freemasonage.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Greg. And it was interesting because when we were in the Antioch Freemason Lodge, and we asked the question, why are you still here? Why are you still hanging around? And they said, to do work. So, they're there for a purpose. They're there because they're continuing on their Freemason work. They're there to continue on the purpose of why they're Freemasons. Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. The first time I was ever there at the one in Keysburg, we got a little bit of activity, but the second time we were there, we got a lot more activity than we did the first time. And like I said, it just depends, I think, on who you take and who's there with you too.
Yeah.
I think that determines that. And we had a lot of, young ladies with us that night. And we also had a mixture of guys with us as well that were all different. And we had some mediums and everything else with us. But yeah, that whole atmosphere just totally changed because we got all sorts of activity compared to the first time we were ever there in the Keysburg one.
Yeah. And we've investigated the Egyptian Theater in DeKalb, and the Freeport Freemason Lodge actually has a really large auditorium theater in it. And that room, compared to like the Freemason temple rooms, completely different energy in the same building. I mean, you've got, because they've had, really big name acts, work that stage. And of course you've got all that positive energy going on in there. The Egyptian Theater, they've had a lot of big acts, going on in there. So you've got all that energy in that place. And there's actually a vaudeville performer that's still hanging out in there. Her name is Ida. She's, if you've ever investigated the the Egyptian theater, they talk about the woman in green. My medium, Chrissy, actually says she's not in green. She's actually in a gold dress. And she starts describing this woman and saying, she goes, she's right up there, and she's like watching us, and she's like, I'm the one who runs this place, so you best behave. And she starts describing what this woman looks like to us. And while we were on the tour, there was a glass case that had some pictures of some of the vaudeville performers that were there, and there was a woman that was in that picture case, and I was like, hold on, come over here. So because she didn't go on the tour with us because she wants to go hit everything cold,
right?
And I brought her over to the case, and I pointed at this woman in the case. I go, is that who you're saying that you're seeing? And she goes, that's her. So it's interesting. Like I said, the amount of energy that's in a place like that, where you've got all this positive stuff going on and people enjoying themselves. One of my bucket list places that I'd love to investigate is the Woodstock Opera House, because again, another big theater, a lot of positive things going on in there, and that we know is really haunted. I was a theater kid in high school, so I love going in and investigating theaters and kind of feeling that. Plus, the other thing is a lot of times we can get ghost spirits to react to us when we get on the stage, and we can get on a stage and have somebody sing. Or when we were at the Egyptian theater, I actually was read the monologue from Hamlet. And the last poor Yorick, I knew him well,
right?
And we actually got a EVP of clapping.
That's cool.
Yeah. But in the auditorium at the Freeport Freemason Lodge, we had a bunch of REM pods out, and I went and sang a couple of Sinatra tunes on the stage, and the REM pods were going off, and they were coming through saying, "Do more." So
that's cool.
Yeah, I always tell everybody I can't sing, but I fake it really well.
Greg Toss has a question here for you. How was the Day of the Dead event?
The Dead event was awesome. The Double Dead event that we did out in Waseca, we partnered up with Graveside Paranormal, Neil Gibbons' company. He actually organized and invited us out to facilitate that for him, and it was awesome. We were doing two locations. We were doing the Roth House, or the Waseca Wonder House, as they call it, and we were doing the old courthouse museum, which is the Iroquois courthouse. And we started off at the Roth House, did a quick tour of the Roth House, and then we divided into two teams. I was leading one team. Mike Alsip from my team was leading the other team. He took his group over to the courthouse, and they started investigating. And of course, I was investigating at the Roth House. But what was interesting about the group that I had at the Roth House is it actually consisted of members of the family of Loreni Venom, which was I don't know how familiar you are with the story of the Roth House, but
I'm not.
So the story of the Roth House is there was a family in Waseca named the Roths. Asa Roth was the father. I can't remember the name of the mom real quick, but they had a daughter named Mary. Mary Roth started exhibiting. Basically, she would go into trances and start speaking, in tongues, and started doing all these things. And basically, what they put her into an asylum, but they figured out later on, a little bit too later on, that what she was dealing with was actually spiritual possession.
Oh wow!
She was a medium, basically. So she unfortunately died at a very young age. So Asia Roth was a spiritualist. So he built this Roth mansion to be able to communicate with the dead. And when you get to this building, you can see that the way the building is, it's got these floor to ceiling windows, and it's opened up, and you can see how the building would be built to be able to communicate with the dead. There's even an altar area built into the brickwork on the back of the house. I call it a witch's circle, but there's like a grove of trees right next to the house where you could, where Neil Gibbons and Diet and Larry Eisler III had filmed their the seance documentary there. They had 150 people come in and do a seance at this location.
Oh wow!
So, anyways, Mary Roth died, and then about a year after she passed away, and Asia Roth had built this house. This other family across town, their young daughter, I think she was 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, Laurency Venom, started exhibiting the same type of behavior that Mary Roth did. And so they got in contact with the Roth family because they were concerned, and they didn't want, basically Asia Roth said, bring her over to our house. We'll talk to her. Well, what ended up happening was Mary Roth possessed Laurency Venom.
Oh wow!
And they basically they asked her all kinds of questions, and are you, to make sure that she was legit, and they was just asking her stuff that only Mary Roth would know about the family, and so she ended up possessing Laurency Venom, and Laurency Venom's, I guess, soul went up to heaven to be fixed or tended to or whatever. And she said that once things once her soul is intact, she'll come back down and take over her body again and whatever. So she lived, I think it was 8 months as Mary Roth in the Roth home. So anyways, the 5 guests that we had in the group that I was doing the paranormal investigations with to start off with at the Roth house were actually her great granddaughters. They came in from New Orleans to do this event with us, and we investigated with them.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So we were, of course, getting all kinds of activity going on.
Did you get any reactions because the granddaughters were there that pertained to them and what they knew about her?
Yeah. We were getting some stuff coming through, and we were also getting other contacts coming through. There's a boy in the upstairs servants room. We believe was might have been the son of one of their servants that they might have had there at one time. We get Asia Roth coming through all the time. And then there's some other entities down in the basement. There's a female entity that hangs out down there. So I mean, we get all kinds of stuff there, but we were definitely getting a lot of stuff that pertained to the ladies that were with us. And then over at the courthouse, the Watseka courthouse, one of the prominent spirits there is this gentleman. Well, I can't really call him a gentleman. This guy, his name is Martin Marin, and he was an Irish immigrant that lived in the area, and he was a gruff man, and he ended up beating his son to death with a snake whip.
Wow!
And he tried to hide it. He actually went into town. After he killed his son and buried his son, he went into town, got the sheriff, and said, "My son ran away. I need help finding my son," type thing. And then, lo and behold, his daughter went and turned him in. And this was in I want to say this was the early 1900s when this happened, like I want to say 1907 or something like that. So the sheriff came and got him and arrested him and brought him and put him in the jail. And then when the word got out to all the townspeople, they were of course really upset to find out that they had this guy in their midst that had the audacity not only to kill his son but also cover it up. So they went and pulled him out and brought him out to a nice big field with a tree in the middle of it and threw a big old party and a barbecue and whatever, and then they hung him lynch mob style. And in the basement in the jail cell, right on the wall next to his jail cell is a glass case with the noose.
Wow. It's sad. It's sad when parents do stuff like that to kids. That just makes me cringe. I mean,
yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, people like that, they need to turn the air off.
Yeah.
But
we got him in there. There's a couple of other criminal types that are down in the jail cell that came through. There is a jailer spirit down there as well. There's one of the rooms down in the basement is a medical room where they've got all these artifacts from various local doctors and vets and dentists, and we get a nurse and we get a doctor down in there, and we also actually get some Native American spirits down in there. Up on the second floor, there's the courtroom still intact. We were able to get in contact with one of the judges up in there. And then there's right next to the courtroom, which we think was probably the original like jury room, where the jury would go back to deliberate.
Right.
That is a room that's filled with war artifacts from all wars from the Civil War on up to most recent times, and we got a lot of activity in that room as well. We were communicating with some spirits of soldiers. And then the other thing that came through as well was because we spent the night there. Not that night when we were doing the dead tour, but we actually investigated the courthouse on August 2nd of this year. We spent the night in the courtroom and we left our static cameras running the whole night. And it's on our Facebook page, and I think we might have put it on the YouTube page now. But we actually caught an EVP while we were sleeping, and it's very clear, Class A EVP of a man's voice saying, "Hello."
That's cool.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the dead tour was awesome. If you get the opportunity to investigate the Roth House or investigate the Watseka Courthouse, absolutely, I would 100% recommend both locations.
That's awesome.
And we were the first team to ever investigate the courthouse.
That's cool. Sounds like you've been to quite a few cool locations and got a lot of evidence that's pretty outstanding.
Yeah. I wish I was a better video editor, because then we'd have a whole lot more on our YouTube channel.
I know when I go live when we do events or I do live investigations, what you see is what you get. I don't go back and re-edit it, and I always tell people, if you see something that I don't, holler it out so I can go back and look at it later, or check it out to find out what it is to debunk it. But
yeah, and one of the cool things actually on the night of the double dead tour, when everybody else had gone home and half of our team had already climbed into their bunks and beds in the courtroom, myself, Mike Alsip, and actually Bobby Resnick Calkins, went back down to the jail cell, and the two of them did a double Estes session. And it was crazy, because I started off asking questions and they were answering, and then it's like they stopped talking to me and they started talking to each other. And it was funny because Bobby goes, I hear a female voice, but it's really faint. And Mike goes, she's a bitch.
You gotta love it when they cuss at you.
and then Bobby said something else about the female. He goes, she's a bitch. But oh my god, it was hilarious. And then when of course we get done with the Double Estes tour session, and we're going back through and listening to the audio from it. And while we're listening to the audio, all of a sudden we heard this like huge crash. It sounded like somebody hit one of our cars outside in the parking lot. And we were like, what in the hell is that? So the three of us go running outside in the parking lot to try to figure out what, thinking somebody hit one of our cars. Mm-hmm. There's nothing going on out there. There's no damage. There's no, whatever. So then we come back in and we're like, well, maybe it was something in the building. So we're sitting there slamming doors and rocking things back and forth and trying to see if we can recreate the noise somehow. Mm-hmm. And we weren't able to figure it out. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of craziness that happened after the Double Dead tour was over.
That's cool. That's definitely cool. I remember you saying at the beginning of the show, you and your wife moved into a location. What experience did you guys have in the location that you moved into?
So what happened in the home that we moved into is we had two spirits. One was a man who was mostly out in the garage. We had a detached garage, and so he was mostly out in the garage in the backyard. And he made me nuts because he would hide my tools or, move stuff around in the garage. Mm-hmm. Like I had a 63 Pontiac in the garage, and I was looking for a set of metric tools because I had to fix something on my wife's car. Right. I found this set of metric sockets in the glove box of the 63 Pontiac.
Oh, wow.
Why would I ever use metric sockets in a old Pontiac?
Exactly.
Old, type thing. Car people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then we had a female ghost on the inside. We called her the nanny ghost. Now, what's interesting is we had opened up the ceiling on our mudroom. The mudroom had a one of those beadboard pine ceilings, and we opened up the mm-hmm. ceiling in there, and we found this shoebox that was filled with all these different artifacts. There was a remnants of a doll. There was an old phone book. There was a map. There was a ton of old cigarette butts with lipstick on them. There was and there was baseball cards that came from, like, you remember the ice cream cups that had, you'd pull the lid off and, mm-hmm. and have the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Well, apparently at one time they must have had a partnership with Topps, because there was all these Topps baseball cards that were in there that were the tops of these ice cream cups. So right after we found that box, it seemed like the energy or the activity in the upstairs kind of started getting a little bit more intense. But we called her the nanny ghost because this house that we lived in, it was only a 2-bedroom house. We had, my two sons were in the one bedroom up in the dormered attic, and we were up in the other room in the dormered attic. And like, if my son was climbing out of his crib at night, she'd start setting off the toys in his room, anything that made noise. Mm-hmm. She'd start setting off the toys. Or if my other son's leg was between the bars, she'd set off the toys, and we'd come up and check on him. Now, the interesting thing too is my wife and I were going out of town on a vacation, and my parents were watching the kids, and somebody else was watching the kids, because my parents actually went on vacation with us. And we had a friend of ours named Laura watching our house, and down in the living room we had this Fisher Price grill, and it would light up and say all these phrases like, put another hot dog on the grill and get the ketchup, and my turn.
Yeah.
And So she's watching TV, and this grill keeps going off. It's making her nuts. So she goes and she finds the grill, or she grabs the grill, and she's like trying to turn off, hits the switch to turn it off, and thing keeps going off on her. And so she's like, all right, I'm just going to pull the batteries out of this. So she goes and, it's got one of those battery cases that requires a screwdriver. So she goes and finds a screwdriver, comes back, opens up the battery case, only to find out there weren't any batteries in it.
Oh, wow.
So she ended up bringing that out to the garage. I'm glad that she did that, and and didn't say fuck this, and I'm getting out of here and whatever. So that's what we had going on in there. The weird thing is, now, like I said, we had the female ghost was in the house, the male ghost was outside of the house. All of a sudden, one night, my wife and I believe we were washing dishes, and all of a sudden, all the toys start going off in the kids' rooms, and we hear through the baby monitor, "Help!" So I go running up the stairs. I'm first going up the stairs. I hit that doorway, and I got pushed back 2 feet into the other bedroom.
Oh, wow.
And as that happened, my son let out a blood-curdling scream. And he had an injury. I'm not going to really say what it was, but because he's kind of sensitive about it. But he had an injury, and so for what it was is the male ghost from outside came into the house and went up to the boy's room. And she tried to alert. So I don't know if he was up there to, because he was pissed off at the female ghost, if they knew each other or what, or why he went up there or whatnot. But my wife said, okay, we're done with the ghosts in this house. And, as much as we like the nanny ghost and what she does, she's like, it's time for them to all go. So she had a witch come in and ward the house. And so the house we live in now, of course, my wife is like, she's like, it's great that we do all this paranormal stuff and we go out and do investigating. And she's since retired from doing the investigations. But she, again, had somebody ward the house here. So my house is like spiritual Fort Knox. Nothing gets in or out of the house.
That's cool. Have you ever been to a location that when you got there and after a little bit you decided you can't be there anymore, you just got to go?
Yes, but not because of the spirits.
Okay.
I'm very highly EMF sensitive, and the home that I'm speaking of actually belongs to one of our teammates, Alex Clark. He called me out to his house. This was before I formed Spire, and he became one of our teammates. He called me out to his house because his daughters were dealing with a spirit who kept saying that he was a demon, but his name was Jeff. That's not a very demonic name,
right?
But they also had a friend of theirs was renting their basement out.
Hello, Brandon.
Hi, Brandon. A friend of theirs was renting out their basement, and they said that the guy was so nice and they got along with him great, because before he moved in, but after he moved in, he was always like agitated and was just, his whole demeanor changed. He was agitated, he was paranoid, he was whatever. So I walk into the house and right away I'm like, ooh, something does not feel right here. So we kind of do the walk around the house and then he takes me down into the basement, and as soon as we get down in the basement, I'm like, oh, I start getting this, like, I'll get this like pain in the back of my neck, like somebody's like taking their thumbs and digging it in the back of my neck. and we're walking down there, and I'm got the K2 meter, and the K2 meter like just pegs, right to red as I'm holding it up to the ceiling. So I moved the ceiling panel aside.
Okay.
Hi, Pam. I moved the ceiling panel aside, and they've got exposed Romex running down the center line of the house. So there was a very big EMF field running down there in the middle of this house.
So pretty much made a squirrel cage in there.
Yeah, fear cage type thing. So I believe that's what was causing I believe that's what was causing the guy that was renting out the basement to have his change of demeanor and change of attitude was that I believe he was probably EMF sensitive, because once he moved out of there he was fine again. But I can only be in their house for because they haven't fixed it yet, or they haven't changed out the wiring. So I can only be in their house for probably about an hour at most before it really starts to bother me.
Does it affect any of him and his family?
Doesn't seem to, no.
Huh. That's interesting.
But like
I've been in locations you're talking about, and it does drive you crazy.
Yeah. When I was with 3 a.m. Extreme Paranormal, we were investigating this place in downtown Chicago called Salvage One. And Salvage One is a really interesting warehouse. And what they do is, when an old building is being torn down, and if it has unique architectural properties, or like an old bar, or stained glass windows, or things like that, they go in and they remove the stuff and preserve it so that they can actually resell it to be used in new constructions or in restoration projects.
Right.
And so we were in that warehouse, and this was actually the first investigation I ever did with 3 a.m. We were in that warehouse, and we were up on, I think it was the 3rd floor, and every so often, and this is actually when I discovered I had the EMF sensitivity. Every so often, I would get like this, the pain in the back of my neck, like every 5 feet or something, and I was like, what is going on in here? Well, of course, we're in the dark, so I take my flashlight and I shine up at the ceiling, and there's exposed conduit this far from my head, like about 6 inches above my head.
Right.
So as I was walking through under these exposed pieces of conduit with the wiring running through, it was affecting me.
Yeah. I've like I said, I've been in places that's got high EV or electromagnetic pulse in there too, and it's crazy. And it does affect people different. I mean, it doesn't bother me like it does with you, but I've seen it where people had to walk out for a while because it's just. So I definitely understand what you're talking about with that for sure.
Yeah.
Is there any like rituals you guys do before you go on an investigation or come back from an investigation so nothing follows you back?
Yeah, I mean, we of course we walk in and we set up all of our gear and we'll start, and I especially if we have guests with us, I'll be like, all right, so we're gonna go in. We want to be respectful. This isn't a place where we want to fuck around and find out. We're gonna be respectful. We're gonna handle ourselves as professionals and things like that. So I mean, in my team, of course they know all this, so I don't have to repeat it every time we go into a new location. But when we leave, we'll kind of gather around and we'll thank the spirits for their hospitality. We'll thank them for hosting us. We'll remind them that they are not allowed to follow us home, that they're not allowed to attach themselves to ourselves, to our vehicles, to our equipment, to anything that we have in our possession, and that they must stay in their location. And that's what we do. And of course, we all carry our own individual pieces of protection. I know Mike's got some crystals and stuff that he uses, and some of the other people on the team have things that they use. Crystals don't do anything for me. So you'll see when I go out I don't have them on right now, but you'll see when I go out, I always have these stainless steel rings on. So for me, it's the heavy metal type thing. Um, I'm I'm kind of a weird individual in the fact that I have the ability to push and pull energy, and wearing the steel rings not only allow me to kind of work as my protection, but they also kind of allow me to focus the energy a little bit better when I need to.
Mm-hmm. I completely understand that because I'm the same way. It's
Yeah.
one of the things when my Reiki master, she taught me, how to deal with energy
Mm-hmm.
and that push and that pull and that magnetic attraction deal. So
Yeah.
I definitely know what you're talking about with that for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because one location that we investigated last year was a private home. We were it was a home in the city of Chicago, and we were doing a session with the dowsing rods, and the homeowner was holding the dowsing rods, and she was trying to communicate with a spirit down in the basement who was coming through as being a non-human entity. It was saying that it was an imp. It was actually
Right.
what our medium picked up, and we were trying to communicate with him, and it was like it was struggling to move the dowsing rod. So then I held my hand over the top of the dowsing rods to push energy down into the dowsing rod, and we got electronic feedback through the dowsing rods, and that all of a sudden you heard this pop an old fuse popping,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw that everybody saw it, and we got it on. Unfortunately, the tape didn't capture the sound or the jolt coming from the dowsing rods, but everybody the tape caught everybody reacting to it because the electricity actually jumped from the dowsing rod into my middle finger, and it hurt like hell, but you could also smell the ozone.
Oh yeah.
So it was like I'm trying to push energy down into these dowsing rods, and all of a sudden it fed back into my hand, and the REM pods all started going off all at the same time that this happened. And then when I went to actually take the dowsing rods from the homeowner, it happened again a second time, and all the REM pods went off.
I don't want that. I don't know why that went off. We always have strange stuff going on once in a while. I was actually trying to find a file here because you were talking about the energy transfer. Well, we were in the Masonic Lodge in Keysburg, and Haunted Happy Hour caught this when I was doing a Reiki session with one of the ladies there that night.
Yeah.
And it was showing the energy transferring from my hand to her hand.
Okay.
They caught it on SLS, and you could actually see it changing colors. But yeah, I definitely understand you're talking about that energy.
Yeah.
She said she was feeling the spirits around her dancing around her because they were doing
everything that it would be.
doing stuff with her before. And I asked her, I said, let's do an experiment. And I sat down and I put my hands about 5 feet away from her at first. And you can see it in the video, and you can see my energy transferring from her.
It's the ladies.
I thought it was pretty cool when they captured this with the SLS they had.
Mm.
What are they doing? What's this? Is that the chair? No.
And he's red. Usually healers, especially if he's doing Reiki, it makes sense that his body is lighting up red.
Oh, wow. Really, really hot right now.
It would be interesting to see if that red transfers to her.
Like really hot.
That's so funny because that's the receiving hand that he's doing it to right now.
It's starting to
That
turn
receiving
red.
hand is lighting
Yeah.
up,
Oh, wow.
and he's not touching her. Do you
Mhm.
see that, guys?
Mhm.
Well, I don't know, Sean. I think we may have to get together and experiment with this whole energy transfer thing between the two of us.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I thought it was a really great catch they do. I like people I go up to it's, that I don't know. I do that with once in a while, and it kind of freaks them out because they can feel me writing in the palm of their hand from about 10 feet away.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was really cool when they caught that. So that's why I saved that clip. And
Yeah.
like I said, I definitely understand what you're talking about with the energy and being able to push and pull and manipulate that energy,
Mhm.
because she showed me how to do that. And it's a cool, I always love doing it because when you're out on an investigation, it definitely helps understanding what that energy is around you because you can feel what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've done we've done SD sessions and things like that where, like, especially up at Broadhead, where, when we're in the old gift shop, which they call the lobby now, and we're sitting at the table in there, and you got a person in there under SDs or whatnot, and we start asking questions, and I'll just start walking in circles around the table, just kind of like pushing out energy, and all of a sudden, not only is the SDs going, but now all of a sudden the REM pod is going, and this is happening, and it's like all of a sudden everything starts lighting up again.
Right.
Like I've kind of given the spirits that extra little boost that they needed.
Well,
to
I guess the
interact with
things
us.
that what I encounter the most, sometimes it'll come over there and says it just don't like me. It wants me to leave because of my energy. It wants me to go to another location of the building.
At
And
Broadhead?
no, not at Broadhead. We were actually on
Oh.
an investigation at a place called Bid Cats in Knoxville, Illinois. And I was on the old team at the time, and the Reiki master was with us that night. And it came over the Ovilus and said it didn't like either one of us leave.
Wow.
Because our energy was, it knew what our energy was. And then we left for a while, come back, and we noticed it was trying to take over the lead that was doing Estes at the time because he started acting a little strange.
Yeah.
And I walked up to him and pulled his earphones off him. I was like, "That we got to stop because it's trying to get in you."
Yeah. Yeah, actually, we've added a Reiki master to our team, so I think I might have to try to do some experimenting with her. Jessie Hawthorne has joined Spire Paranormal recently.
That's cool. Yeah.
I might have to try to do some of the experimenting with her as well.
Yeah. The one I had was Tammy Christensen. She was on our old team, and she's the one that taught me how to do all the Reiki and energy work like that. So, and being able to transfer bad energy to good energy and everything, and to manipulate it, because you can, it definitely helps out a lot when you can.
Yeah, I don't know how to do Reiki. I mean, everything that I do with the energy transfer and stuff is just kind of stuff that I picked up and figured out along the way. It's like anything else. If I actually learned probably how to do this stuff properly, I'd probably be dangerous.
I experiment all the time with things, and one of the things that I can actually manipulate sometimes is those. It's like a foam cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my static electricity moving it, because it's kind of a thick foam and it's kind of a harder foam. So it's not my static electricity that's moving it. But sometimes I can actually manipulate that and make it roll once in a while. But it's a hit and miss, because you feel like you got that connection to it with that energy, like a magnetic connection. But sometimes it just doesn't do anything. And then sometimes it'll just move a little bit, and that's about it. But
yeah,
it's definitely, because the thing that I've heard, if you can match the frequency with an object, you can move it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I've been able to make K2 meters go off and things like that, and
I've been able to move the dowsing rods, take my fingers and crisscross them. been able to do that. I mean, one of my teammates did that up at Broadhead when we discovered that one day.
Yeah.
Because she had a mount. She's like, man, these things are just going crazy. And I said, well, check this out. And it was following my fingers. And she was like, whoa. And I said, well, give them to me, because she can do energy work too. And she got them to move. And I said, okay, so you hold them. Don't tell me what you're thinking. And I won't tell you what I'm thinking. And they kept doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what were you thinking? She said, I wanted them to cross. And I said, I wanted them to stay apart. So that's why they were doing this.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, wow. But yeah.
Yeah.
So dowsing rods are very interesting for sure.
Yeah. So
I know we're at the top of the hour here, Ed. What's one thing on your bucket list or one place that you'd like to go to?
oh my God, there's so many places that I want to go to. One of the big ones I want to do is, and actually I'm hoping to book it this year, is Ashmore Estates, because I always hear everybody talking about Ashmore.
Yeah, that's on the bucket list too.
Yeah, another one is Billy Creek Village in Indiana. And the thing that I find fascinating about that is that they've got all these buildings that they took from all these different locations. They brought them to one location, and it's like this whole location is just incredibly active. But I would have to say that the one place that's really kind of at the top of my list is the Haunted Clown Museum in Nevada.
Ooh, I've heard so many things about that. Some of it's hit and miss, and then some people just say, "Wow, it's just unreal."
Well, and really, it's not even just the museum. You've got to explore the old cemetery, minor cemetery across the street from it too.
Yeah,
but
I've actually seen pictures of that location with some people that I know that's been there, and it's got some bizarre stuff in there for clowns. I'll tell you that for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and it's the interesting thing is that it actually appears in one of the Call of Duty video games. It's one of the maps.
Oh, I guess I didn't realize that because I haven't played Call of Duty for a while. But
yeah, I want to say it was one of the Black Ops, Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3, but it was actually one of the maps in Call of Duty.
Oh wow, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course, nothing haunted happened in the game, so that's good.
We need to 5 days at Freddy's. We need to add that in there.
Yeah, there you go.
So, what's one thing you would tell new teams that are just starting?
So, interestingly enough, there was a post recently about in a group that I'm involved in called Chicago Paranormal, run by Jack Chavez. And somebody had posted that they were looking for a team to join, and of course all these people started. I mean, there's hundreds of comments on this post of people saying, I want to join a team, and I want to join a team, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I really want to join a team. So there's a lot of enthusiastic people out there that really want to get involved in the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
The best advice that I can give you is keep an eye out for public investigations. Broadhead, Freeport Freemason Museum, or Freemason Lodge. Other locations that have public investigations. Eternal Paranormal. They've got their new location out there. The
Sanctum of Souls. Yes, I've been there.
Yes. We're trying to get in there too.
That's cool.
But I know that they do public investigations. If you're interested in doing it, go out to the public investigations. Investigate with people who know what they're doing. Learn how to do this. See if maybe you can get involved with an existing team, or if you really want to start a team of your own. Like I said, if you can get on a team and be with a team for a while and then branch out on your own like I did, do that. But learn the ropes. I mean, you can learn things from watching some of the shows, but you don't learn everything. Because the shows are their shows. They're cut so that all the boring parts are taken out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because as 70% of a paranormal investigation is sitting in a dark room by yourself talking to yourself.
Yep.
You don't always have things popping off like this.
Right.
And that's the thing is I have a feeling, especially with all these groups that are popping up on YouTube and TikTok and things like that they go out to these locations and they're expecting things to happen and whatever, and things don't happen, so they get bored and they start screwing around and they're running around and they're like, oh, there's demons, and there's this and there's that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. If things are going to happen, if the spirits are going to reach, contact you or communicate with you, it's because you're being respectful. You're doing the right things and you're drawing them in. Don't run around like a fool thinking that that's going to get things going. We've got Zach Bagans out there who he goes out and he instigates the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
and he goes to places where he can instigate the ghosts. And I've actually talked to people who own locations that he's been to or have investigated locations that he's been to that say that after he's been in their location, he didn't go in there to help quell the activity. He after he leaves, it's actually worse.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a friend out in Florida that goes to a location that his team has been to, and he had to actually, it's still very haunted. They still run paranormal investigations through there, but he had to actually kind of go in there and calm things down a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the number one thing is when you go out to these locations, be respectful, especially if they're a place like Broadhead Manor where they've got all the statues and masks around. Don't go in there and start moving stuff around when the owner's up, sleeping in his room,
Right.
so he comes downstairs and finds things moved out of place or knocked over or broken
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. You have to be respectful, and you have to make sure that, that you're being respectful to the ghosts. This is not a zoo. We're not going in there to, tap on the glass. We're going in there to communicate.
Yeah.
And that's the best advice that I can give.
I mean, I've actually been to locations they've said it was haunted, and I've been there and not got any activity at all.
Yeah.
So
I've been in Broadhead Manor when there hasn't hardly been any activity. I mean, and this is one of the most active buildings that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after Bill hadn't been in there a while, and he likes to play music to amp the place up. And it was just real, it was real quiet, and we didn't get a whole lot of activity. We got a little bit here and there, and Elizabeth came down and said hello and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, but I've been in the principal's office and gotten absolutely nothing. Either he wasn't there or he just didn't feel like talking.
Yeah, like I said, I've been to locations before, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask one of us teams. Hey, can we come tag with you one night?
Yeah,
because I've had people do that before and taking them out.
And I always like to say that paranormal investigating is a lot like fishing. Some days you get into the honey hole and you're getting all kinds of activity and you get your limit full, and other times you get skunked.
I definitely will agree with that.
Yeah.
I definitely will agree with that. So where can everybody find you at, Ed?
So you can find us. Our website is ghostlyspire.com. You can find us at Spire Paranormal on Facebook. We've also got we do have a Twitter and a Instagram, although we're mostly on Facebook, and you can if you can search the Spire team on YouTube, you can see the few videos that I have up there. Hopefully I'll be getting them up more. And like I said, we've got most of our links and everything on our website, which is theghostlyspire.com. And if you want to contact us, we've got a hotline number on there, and of course you can always email us as well.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Ed, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show tonight and taking the time to do it. We will definitely have to get together and team up one night.
Absolutely. We love to do collabs, and if there's like I said, if there's a location that you want to do and you need some extra teammates, give us a call, because as Mike Alsip and I always say, let's go.
Yeah, it's like when I say let's go, everybody else has got something to do, and it's just me normally going. But I understand one of our teammates has got like 2-year-olds, so that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And but the rest of them, sometimes I'll post stuff up, and it's like almost 2 weeks in advance. Then the day comes, it's like, no, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Shoot me an IM, and if we're free, I'm all for it.
Sounds like a game plan. I am going to set you backstage here, Ed, and I will talk to you in a second. And thank you again for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Gwen, I know you're hiding backstage. Do you got anything you want to say before we close out the show?
I just thank you, everybody, for watching. And, tomorrow night, of course, is what I call Manic Monday. Sometimes we got 3 shows. So, tune in. If you ever see us live, just tune in and see what we got going on.
Most definitely. And like I said, thanks, Ed, for coming in tonight and coming on the show. And next weekend, we have one of the All Access members coming on the show for the first time. Ms. Raven Wolf will be here next Sunday.
Nice.
And we will have her as a guest. So stop in next weekend and say hi to her. And everybody have a great weekend. We are out of here.